Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for another video. So today I was reading this article. The title of the article is What It's Like to Get Locked Out of Google Indefinitely. Now that sounds pretty bad when you think about it, because if you lost your whole Google account, you might have been relying on it for your email, your primary email address. You might have used it to log into everything. You might have used the Google Drive to store all your important documents. And you might have used Google Photos to store all your photos. They could be the only copy of your photos. So imagine losing all that. Like one guy in this article describes it as, it's a little like having your house burned down. And yeah, it is. I mean, if you think about if it's the only copy of all that stuff, that could be a big chunk of your life that just vanished. So these people also said that they basically their accounts got deleted and banned, and they have no way to recover them, and no one in Google that they can contact about it. And they weren't given any warning. They were just given a message after the fact saying there was a, quote, serious violation of Google policies. So who knows why they were deleted? I actually suspect that Google has some sort of bot that goes around and checks the contents of everyone's drives and emails, and maybe uses some heuristics to detect if there's any violation of their terms of services. And who really knows what is in those terms of services? Nobody reads them anyway, and they're always updating them with this and that, and who knows, they might have added something in there that says, oh, if you block Google ads, that's a violation of our terms. Or, you know, if you store some pirated MP3 that you downloaded off Napster 20 years ago ends up on your Google Drive, then we can delete your account. So who really knows why they were deleted and whether it was a false detection? But you can see how easily your account could be vulnerable to getting this kind of deletion. So this just shows you that you can't really trust any single point of failure, no matter how big and famous it is. Basically, you should not be putting all of your technology eggs, so to speak, in one basket, because you just don't know what could happen. Always have a second copy. Even if you only make a second copy once or twice a year, at least you will lose only maximum 1 year of data as opposed to your whole lifetime. So how can we protect ourselves from this form of data loss, which many people don't always consider? Let's take Google as an example. So the great thing about Google is that you can basically go to takeout.google.com and download all of your data pretty easily. So you basically just need to go here and select which data you want, as long as you're logged into your Google account. So you can choose to select everything, or just your, say, your Google Drive, your photos, your emails, or whatever you want to keep, and then go down to the bottom, next step. So the cool thing now is that you can choose to export everything once now, or you could also export every 2 months for up to a year. And I actually use this method because basically every 2 months it'll email me a new download link for a fresh copy of all my data. And so every 2 months I have a automatic backup that I can download and keep on my local hard drive. So there are a few options here. You can choose to split it into different sizes of files. And then you basically create the export, and then it'll go through. So you'll just have to wait a little while for this export to happen. If you have a lot of files in your account, you will, it could take a few hours, it could even take a day or two. So just wait till you receive the email giving you a download link to your exported data. Looks a bit like this, and then you can easily download the data. One thing to note with Google Drive backup is when you use Google Takeout, it doesn't include any files that were shared with you. It only includes files that you own. So if somebody else shared a document or some files with you, they would still retain ownership of those files and they wouldn't be downloaded into your Takeout. So just be aware of that. If your account does get lost, then the files that were shared with you should still be accessible by going to the person that originally owned them. So what about all those accounts that you might have signed up with using your Google account? So I would actually discourage anyone from using Google or Facebook or any of your logins to log into other accounts. So to clarify what I'm talking about, it's basically when it asks you whether you want to use a social login or login using your Google account like this. And basically I would just, whenever a website asks you to do this, just register a new account. It just takes a couple seconds the first time you do it, but it usually means that you won't be tied to using a Google account which may disappear in the future. And also it stops Google from tracking you every time you log into some place. So I would recommend not to use these kind of authentication to log into other websites. If you already have, you can actually go to your Google account settings. If you go to this link, and it will show you everything that you've logged into with your Google account, and you'll be able to go to each of those websites and create a independent password login and then delink your Google account. So that would mean that you no longer rely on Google to access that website. So what about all your important emails? That should be included in the Google Takeout backup that you did. But if you want a more up-to-date copy of your email, then another way would be to use a local email client such as Microsoft Outlook or Mozilla Thunderbird. I know it's a bit old school, but that's one way to make sure that you've always got a copy of all of your emails downloaded locally. Also, if you're lucky enough to have your own domain for your email, then that's an ideal situation, because if your Google account ever gets deleted or banned, you can simply rehost your email somewhere else with the same email address using your own domain. You probably also want to make sure that the files that you download are stored somewhere securely locally, so on your own hard drive, and you probably want them to be encrypted as well, so nobody can just copy the files off your computer. So there you go. I hope you learned something from that. Don't put all of your technology eggs into one basket. Make sure you download your own copy of them occasionally, just in case they all disappear one day for no apparent reason. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.